Good afternoon, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here with a special hurricane outlook and discussion right off the press, as they say. If this was a newspaper, it would be hot off the press. Straight from the National Hurricane Center, we now have Tropical Storm Bret about to enter the Southeast Caribbean, and another one of these special advisories that they're doing for the potential development of a tropical cyclone, and this would be, once it becomes a tropical cyclone, assuming it does, Tropical Cyclone number 3. So let's take a look at the details here from the National Hurricane Center. Literally just coming out moments ago. In fact, I am recording this video at 4:52 p.m. and the update is tagged as 5 p.m. So it's ahead of schedule here. Anyway, Hurricane Hunter aircraft find the disturbance has become a tropical storm. The maximum winds are 40 miles per hour. This thing's moving so fast, west-northwest at 30 miles per hour. Let's take a look at the track map here, and we can see where it's located. A fairly small wind field overall, and the size of the system down here, fairly small. Here are your tropical storm warnings, including the parts of the ABC Islands, which are farther over here, and then, of course, the northeast part of Venezuela, and into the southern and southeast portions of the Windward Islands. This will be a fast-moving system. It already is, so it'll move by the area fairly quickly. And if we look at the visible satellite picture associated with it, let me zoom in on it. Where are we? Right here. All right. You can see this is the very latest animation. I just loaded this before going to the recording here. Getting better organized right there. You can really see a big mass of clouds filling in. Deep convection or thunderstorm activity, and all of this is spreading towards the west-northwest with time at a fairly good clip here. We're talking 30 miles per hour or so, and it's embedded in those deep easterly trade winds coming across, which is typical this time of the hurricane season, and that's what makes this so unusual. Very well-developed tropical wave that came off of Africa, and now it is officially our second named storm of the season. You can clearly see that S shape associated with it, much more of a classic look. And you remember in my earlier update, I said that they usually don't develop feeder bands coming off of land. Well, they usually don't, except when they do. That is incredible right there to see it pulling in. What it's trying to do is develop some inflow here off of the continent of South America. This thing is vigorous, and if it didn't have land mass and shear waiting for it, it would go on to become a hurricane, but those are going to be some inhibiting factors that will keep it from doing so. That being said, even up here, Barbados, and extending down, of course, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada over here, and then extending to the north coast of Venezuela, and even farther to the north. And I admittedly don't know every island by heart. I'll work on that for the heart of hurricane season. But you guys are all here in the southern Windward Islands, like I said earlier, basically from 15 degrees north latitude and points south and west from there. This is headed your way tonight, and it'll bring squally conditions. And I'm telling you, when you get one of these thunderstorms, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more. I want to show you what I'm talking about here. When you get one of these cells to pop up right over your location, let me show you one right like that one right there. Watch at the end of the animation. If that pops up where they look like lumps inside, like potatoes, lumpy potatoes, boy, that's some heavy thunderstorm activity. And when that develops right on top of you, you'll know it's there, because the effects are much more dramatic. The wind is much easier to bring to the surface during those convective bursts, which drag those winds down to the surface, especially since this is moving so fast. That will come fast and furious. All right, so let's go back to the National Hurricane Center homepage, move this out of the way, and we have the next system in here, potential tropical cyclone number 3. So what's the deal with that? Well, tropical storm warning issued for part of the Louisiana coast. This is literally breaking news right as it's happening. I'm reading it for the first time. Location of this potential tropical storm. This could eventually become Cindy. 24.7 north, 88.7 west. Winds are already up to 40, and I'll show you, well, why isn't that a tropical storm? Well, we'll talk about that in just a minute. Air pressure fairly low, down to 1,002 millibars, and tropical storm warning in effect from intracoastal city, Louisiana, to the mouth of the Pearl River, so almost over to the Mississippi state line. All right, now let's read down here to the discussion. We know about the stats on it. Upper level winds are expected to be only marginally conducive, and therefore 80% chance that this goes on to become a full-fledged tropical storm. That's pretty high. 8 out of 10 shot that this will do it. And then this is important here. Tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 205 miles to the north and east of the center. That's a huge area of storm force winds there. Tropical storm conditions are expected to reach the coast within the warning area on Tuesday, and then they are possible in the watch area on Wednesday. I guess I missed the tropical storm watch. Let's go back up here. Here we go, a tropical storm watch west of Intracoastal City to High Island in Texas. So that's important. All right, let's get back over here to the graphics, and let's find what we're looking for. There it is. All right, so they are forecasting this. Oh, interesting. If you've been following on Twitter, Dr. Ryan Maui, great map maker and scientist there, meteorologist for Weatherbell, showing the Euro, insisting that this kind of comes over here and then comes up, the European model and all of its ensemble members. Well, the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center is making this head towards southwest Louisiana, it looks like. Certainly not the Florida Panhandle. I'm not saying the GFS has nailed this all along, but the European model idea of this heading over this way, at least in this forecast package, not verifying according to this forecast. We'll see. That can change. There's room for adjustment. But let me make something very clear. Everybody in this coloring right here, and even points east and west of there, you're going to feel the effects of this with increasing surf conditions, rough surf. Storm surge flooding could be an issue to the right of where this is, all that strong onshore flow. And so, don't look at this and say, oh, sloppy mess, 40-mile-an-hour storm, or whatever potential storm. I'm not going to worry about it, because if we look at the animation on the wide perspective here, you can clearly see very large system overall, east side weighted, meaning most of the nasty weather's over on that eastern side, and that's owed to the strong upper level winds that are cutting across, kind of keeping the thing cut in half, which is a good thing, because boy, this would be on its way over that open water of the warm Gulf of Mexico. And you got to look at this. This is remarkable for June, folks. Tropical system developing here in the Gulf of Mexico, and a tried and true tropical wave that came off of Africa, now Tropical Storm Bret, and it's only June the 18th. We have been talking about the potential for a very busy season, and this might be, telling the future here of what we might look forward. It's certainly not in a positive way, but we have to acknowledge this may be portending, I think that's a word, what may be to come. So please use this as a wake-up call. Okay, the hurricane season means business. I'm going to take it more seriously. It's important, because these things do have impacts. And if we zoom in on our system in the Gulf of Mexico, and this is what I'm talking about, you have all these little vortices in here, these small, low-level swirls. You see one right there, it dies away. There's another one. It's like it's spitting out these little low areas that are trying to consolidate and wrap that convection around it, but it can't, because the upper level winds are pushing everything off in this direction, kind of like that, and it's not allowed to wrap completely up. And if it did, if these upper level winds relax enough, then this thing could ramp up even more. So interesting times ahead. We have a lot to keep track of. I wanted to put this out as soon as I could. I'll be all over it. I'll do a special blog post with graphics and details on HurricaneTrack.com later tonight. And then tomorrow in the morning, I'll get up and do, I get up like that's a hard thing to do. When I get up, I'll do a special update, again, talking about the impacts here. At that time, Bret will be going through the islands, and this system will be possibly impacting Louisiana. And I got to think about if I want to be there with some of my equipment. This could be an interesting study from a landfall perspective, so a lot for me to consider as well. Have a great rest of your evening. Thanks as always for tuning in. I am Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com, and I'll talk to you a lot more over the next several days.